G'day, it's Denadon here, and welcome back to Day 2 of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2949, this year held in the Bevic Convention Centre on ArcCorp. Now, Day 2, the feature manufacturer is RSI, Roberts Space Industries, perhaps the oldest ship manufacturer in-game, in that they basically pioneered spaceflight and accessible spaceflight, to be precise, for general citizens with a ship that was very similar to the present Aurora. Now, in-game they don't actually have very many ships at the moment. They have a few large ones which aren't obviously in existence here, such as the Bengal carrier, and then there's a few concept ships that they've made like the Orion mining platform and the Apollo sort of medical ships. Neither of those are available, they have not been made yet. So instead what we're left to have a look at is the stuff that does actually exist at this point in time. We'll start off with a series of ships basically every player will be familiar with, and that is of course the Aurora. They're a simple, pretty much starter ship, not amazing or anything, but they don't either have very many weaknesses. They're pretty much just what you expect. They'll get the job done, but they're not particularly fancy. This ship in front of us is the Aurora CL. This is the Clipper, or the freighter version, that can carry more cargo in a pod underneath at the back. However, the pods that all the Auroras can actually carry don't actually exist as an asset, so right now when you do trade with an Aurora, the cargo is just invisible. You can fit a cargo box behind the pilot seat though, so you can use that. Next up we have the Aurora ES, or the Essential I believe. This is the basic, cheapest Aurora you can get. And if you want a sort of disposable throwaway ship, they're actually pretty good at that. They still have a bed, so you can still use it to log out anywhere in the universe, but they don't cost you basically anything to rent or buy in game. So that makes them very accessible if you just want to have an additional ship, like maybe you're sick of waiting for a respawn timer, or insurance claim on your other ships, or something like that. I don't know. If you're stranded on a world somewhere in the universe one day in the future, maybe one of these will save you. This Aurora here is the Aurora LX, or the luxury one. Now this is the one that, well, it says luxury. It doesn't really have much luxury in terms of anything. It just has, well, a leather seat. That's pretty much it. It does, however, come with a jump drive, I believe, that the other Auroras originally weren't going to come with. Whether that is still part of the game or not, I don't know. But if so, this would make the Aurora the one that can actually go from one system to another. Otherwise, you would be stuck within the same system without buying that drive. This version is one that perhaps every player is familiar with, and that is the Aurora MR, or Mark. This is the general purpose ship that comes in all the game packages, so if you back the game at one of its cheapest packages, this is the ship you probably have. Now, as a result, I don't really need to tell you much about this one, because, well, yeah, it is a starter ship. Nothing particularly special about it, but it's not also particularly bad at anything either. It's pretty mixed purpose, so you can use it for whatever you really want to do. Just don't really take it into too much conflict, because it won't survive for very long. Speaking of conflict, the Legionnaire here is the model you want to take if you are expecting combat. This is probably the cheapest, more competent fighter you can get in the game. Sure, it only has small guns, but it has a reasonable number of them with 4 mounts that you can have all gimbaled, along with the missiles on top. So for a little upgrade, you can get one of these. Would I recommend it? Maybe not, but if you want to use it, you can, because it's still a fighter that has a bed. So unlike a Hornet, you can still travel the universe and save wherever you want. Whereas with a Hornet, you have to confine yourself to anywhere that has a hab you can log out at. I almost forgot about it, but the RSI Ursa here is one of the best rovers in the game right now. I mean, it's also one of the only rovers in the game right now. However, it has 6 wheels that are right on the corners of the vehicle, as you can see, which makes it very hard to get bogged compared to the Cyclone. And yes, it may be a bit slower, but it actually has a usable cargo bay, because you have these side doors, but you also have, oops, I fell off. There's a ramp at the back as well, so you can access it pretty easily, which makes it very flexible as a rover. It does, however, require something like the Constellations to carry it, because it is, well, as you can see, rather bulky. Looking very unusual amongst all the RSI ships is the Mantas here. This is the newest RSI ship to be added to the game, and it is an interdiction vessel. Basically, it has a field it can generate that will drag other ships out of quantum, which supposedly will be used by law enforcement, but you can also expect pirates will be using these things to force players out of quantum and into, combat. However, to do so, the Mantas basically is shut down itself, so it can't fight on its own. It needs someone else to back it up. It does, however, have this rather unusual looking design, and these engine nacelles, or nacelles, however you want to pronounce it, that sit up the top there, looking very much like some sort of Star Trek ship. One of the more iconic ships in the game right now is the Constellation Andromeda here. This is a multi-purpose ship and was one of the first multi-purpose ships to actually be added to the game. Well, it's also multi-crew, that's what I mean, not multi-purpose, though you can do multiple roles with it. It has guns and lots of missiles, and I do mean lots of missiles when you look at these racks here, so you can do some combat with it. However, it's not really intended for that. It's more an armed freighter that can do a little bit of protecting itself, but you can do whatever you want with it. It also still has the Merlin snub fighter under the back here, though as of yet you still cannot actually undock that. So for now it's a pretty little addition, but not actually that useful. Still looking forward to it one day though, because that will be really nice to see. Taking centre stage is RSI's perhaps most prestigious ship, at least for the moment. That is the Phoenix, which is, as I said, based on the Constellation frame. However, it replaces the entire midsection and some of the cargo bay with a luxurious suite. It has a bar in there, it has multiple cabins, it has a master bedroom, it even has a spa in there. And it has a different snub fighter. It has the Archimedes at the back, although that also cannot be undocked right now. But yeah, this is, well, it's RSI's most expensive ship, at least one of the most expensive ships anyway, excluding the capitals like the Polaris. But it is, well, fairly limited in role, but their competitor, I suppose, to Origin. Now, I actually do have one of these myself, so it will be easier to do a review of these properly at some point in the future. Finally, we have the Constellation Aquila, or Aquila, I'm not sure how you want to pronounce that. Now, this is the exploration version of the Connie, often overlooked in favour of the Carrack or the 600i. But this one was one of the earlier exploration ships, replaces the pointy nose as you can see with this rather nice rounded canopy. However, it is a little bit, in my opinion, worse visibility from it than the pointed ones, which seems a little problematic. Otherwise, it's pretty much your standard Constellation. Like, it has the same interior effectively as the Andromeda, it just replaces the dorsal turret on the top with a scanning array, though presumably you could replace that with guns, because that is probably going to be more useful. So what do you think? Day 2 is a little smaller. RSI has less ships on display than Anvil does, as, like I said, they are one of the smaller manufacturers, at least in terms of presentation in the game right now, and they are missing a fair few ships here. Like, they're even missing the Taurus, which is the final Connie variant, but that one also is awaiting its final design, so we've got nothing to see for that one. Oh, what do you think about that? Let me know if you have any feelings about that, but you don't have to. I don't worry about it that too much. But yes, stay tuned for, hopefully, further days in the show where my recording system will hopefully keep functioning, unlike last year, where this was as far as I unfortunately got. But until next time, I'm Denidon, this was Star Citizen, safe landings.